You're more committed to freedom than you are to success. That's why you're not writing that book. Or you're more committed to comfort. That's why you're not in the shape that you want to be in. Why you start things and why you follow through on things and why you finish things or why you don't is not nearly and almost not even at a priority a time management issue. How to start things is critical, and how to finish things is critical. And of course, we want to know how to do it more effectively, more efficiently, more optimally. I'm going to share some very core foundational pieces to understand today. And I'm also going to share some things perhaps you've never heard or thought about when it comes to how to start and finish things. Mostly, we just think in terms of time management, right? If I just organize my time better, then I'll get more done. And that is fundamentally flawed. Time management is not even at the top three. Like a lot of people ask me, how am I so productive? How is it that I have a family, I have a marriage, I have extended family, I have friends, I have community, I spend lots of time with all of those people, and I exercise and I meditate and I manage and run a business and I write books and movies and programs and music and all of these things. And how is it that I'm able to be so productive and also have a relatively diversified life where I'm giving time and energy to all the different life structures? And I don't do it perfectly. And I have periods where I get out of balance. And sometimes out of balance is actually necessary. When you're dancing, you're not in perfect balance in every step. It's the dance that allows the balance to be where you are. It's that center point. It's not about everything has to be equal, everything has to be even. When a mother is giving birth and has a child, her life is out of balance, but it's focused in the right way. When the farmer is harvesting the crops, they're not planting crops. They have to give all their energy to the time of the harvest. This is not about having everything perfectly in balance. It's not even about doing things perfectly. It's about understanding that you have the capacity to absolutely start and finish productively, prolifically, effectively, efficiently, and optimally. You were designed for that. Just like nature is profoundly productive and efficient and effective. And in nature, until man gets in there and messes things up, you don't hear about problems with time management. You don't hear about problems with starting and finishing things, right? The oak tree doesn't have that problem. The apple tree doesn't have that problem, fundamentally speaking. We're not dealing with a real problem. It's not an actual real problem. Our innate natural capacity is to start and finish things. And it's all a matter of building the right habits, which requires a level of commitment to this process versus a belief, this is where we really get stuck, that we have to wait for someone or something outside of us to change. So often we believe to start and ultimately to follow through and ultimately to finish, it's not in our control. That it has to do with our family, our friends, the economy, the government, our bodies, our bank accounts, our business state. It has to do with all these extrinsic things, and we give away our agency. We give away the locus of our real power and control, which is within us. Okay, so you want to first understand the complete ability to start and finish and to live a creative, productive, prolific, purposeful, and progressive life is 100% in your control. Before the Big Bang, that central emerging activity that created all of the universe as we know it, there was no time. There was no space. There were no laws of physics as we know them. But there was something. There was a creative capacity, a creative force, a first cause. It did not wait and go, well, I need to make sure I have enough time. I need to make sure that there's enough space. I need to make sure that the laws of physics support me. I need to check with historical perspectives. I need to make sure I know what the future holds, et cetera, et cetera. It didn't do any of that, primarily because none of that existed. And yet it still was able to create everything that we know of. So it wasn't waiting for any condition. It created the condition for that divine or infinite seed of potential to emerge. It created the time. It created the space. It created the laws of physics. It created every condition that it needed for its full emergence. And then the unfoldment of that in time and space, it hasn't stopped. That same capacity is what we call evolution. Evolution is not a blind, random, non-purposeful force, regardless of what scientists, in my honest opinion, mistakenly say. It's the continual process. It's creating the right condition for its big idea to keep unfolding. And the same thing is true with you. So how to get things done, start them, finish them, follow through with them, and do it efficiently, effectively, and optimally, or fast, is 100% in your capacity. That same ability to create, the way the Big Bang creates. The Big Bang is happening every moment in you. Genesis in the beginning is happening in every moment within you. Genesis, which is another way of saying the Big Bang in the Bible, there was no time or space, there was no laws of physics. In the beginning is not a moment in time and space. It's the moment where you step out of time or space, where you no longer are being a victim of or beholden to the simulation of your mind, the historical precedents and perspectives and paradigms, and you are standing in your sovereign power, in your true nature, in that seed of true purpose and potential, and you are designing the condition for your greater emergence. You no longer have to wait for anyone or anything. Now, that doesn't mean you can do everything at once, but fundamentally, I want you to get back to your true creative nature, your true sovereign oneness with life, with source. So I want to cover some basic principles to start breaking down why this is so, how this is so, and how to do it practically. So the first thing is to understand that your character determines your destiny, not your conditions. Your ability to create the conditions you want are not determined by the conditions you face. It's determined by the character you develop. You are made in the image and likeness of the creator force, which means you create with the same capacity as the Big Bang, as the divine, as Genesis, whatever works for you. Whether you're an atheist or spiritual, it doesn't matter. If you believe in the Big Bang, it's the same idea. That same creative power, that same creative force that does not wait for the right condition, the right time, the right space, or the right laws. It creates the condition for its emergence. What is it that gives you the power to create regardless of conditions or the lack of them? Your character. Your character determines the conditions that unfold ultimately. Your character allows you to create and become regardless of the conditions you face. Your character determines your destiny, not the conditions you've been in or the conditions you face. What is character? Character is made of habits. Habits are the things you do automatically. It's the programming, it's the operating system. And your habits can be broken down into 4 fundamental quadrants: your habits of thinking, your habits of feeling, your habits of being, and your habits of doing. That core program makes up your character. Habits of thinking, feeling, being, and doing. And even if you currently have habits, once they're a habit, that's a condition again. So if you have current habits of thinking, you're not stuck with that because you have this capacity to think independently of conditions, which is the true nature of your creative force. You can create a new thinking pattern. So once it becomes a habit, that's a new condition. Your current habits of thinking, feeling, being, and doing are running a program, but you're not the program. You're not caught in the program. You are the program maker. You are the programmer. You have metacognition, the ability to think about what you're thinking about, to observe and witness mental, emotional, energetic, and physical patterns and conditions, and choose again, choose new. based on that emerging truth, that emerging impulse, that highest vision. You get to choose the habits you want to create now, regardless of past, regardless of present conditions, regardless of even your present habitual conditions. Now, habits are formed by what we commit to consistently, no matter what. Where is your locus of power? Habits are formed by what we commit to. So conditions don't determine your destiny, your character does. Your character is made up of habits. You have the power to create new habits no matter what habits you've had before. And habits are formed by what you commit to with consistency. What you do consistently, no matter the conditions. You cannot form a habit if you fall prey again to the old paradigm that your old habits or your current conditions determine what you do and what you commit to and how you show up. And one of the reasons is that it's not just an ephemeral thing, a habit. You're literally creating new neural pathways. A habit is something you're building in the literal brain, and then you're eventually creating a subjective groove in consciousness. As you build that subjective groove, the material manifestation of that builds a new neural pathway. And those neural pathways, for lack of a better word, it's physical, it's meat, and it's got circuitry to it. And it takes energy to build it. And it's designed so that it doesn't fall apart easily, right? It's not ephemeral, it's solid. You've got some circuitry there. Imagine it's like a switchboard or something, and all of these things are plugged in to that particular, your current circuitry that's running those circuits of the current habits you have. And it's so much so that they're still running while you're asleep. They're still running when you're doing other things. That's a good thing, right? Otherwise, you have to always be thinking again about how to drive that stick shift, how to chew that food, how to hold that fork, how to speak words and sentences, how to walk, etc., right? And there would be no room left for expanded awareness, for conscious experience, for just experiencing the moment. So you have to build a new habit. We have to unplug circuitry from the old habit pattern, the old neural pathway, and plug it in over here. You know, you go to the gym for the first few days, and then you don't do it for a few more days. So now they're like, plug. Oh, wait a second, false alarm. This new neural pathway, this new bridge is not actually being built. Let's plug it back into the one that's more built, because there's only so much energy that can circulate and focus, because your brain uses somewhere around 25% of your total calories. So it takes a lot of energy to build a new habit, which is why it's difficult to do, but also why it's difficult to break. And again, that's good, right? If you build a great habit of exercising every day, meditating every day, writing or creating every day, spending time and putting time on your loved ones every day, etc., you don't want that habit to break easily, right? But it takes something to build and to recondition the new habits. So you have to commit. They did a study with astronauts where they had to train the astronauts to live in space and to work upside down. And so they had to wear these glasses where it flipped everything upside down. And of course it was difficult. They were getting nauseous, they were stumbling, they were crawling around. They couldn't really make their way or make heads or tails. But after a certain period, and I can't remember the exact length, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of between 45 to 60 days, or give or take, the image flipped. And even though they were wearing upside down glasses, they could experience and see their world as if it was right side up. And that basically would allow them to operate in space while they're upside down. What was happening was, during that period of consistency, getting that input, we have a new condition. This is what the world is. We need to build the structures to support this. It was constantly giving input to their brain, and eventually it built a new circuitry so that they could experience things and operate with equilibrium and balance and all of that as if they were right side up. But there was at least one individual that did not wear them consistently. And even though they were part of the program for the whole time, whenever it got uncomfortable, whenever it was too much, they took them off. And as a result, it was that thing. It's like, okay, we're building this new thing. Oh, nope, sorry, false alarm, put it back. Oh no, we're building this now. Oh, sorry, false alarm, put it back. And so they never built the new habit. I know you hear about habits, but habits are kind of this miraculous, still way, way, way underappreciated, under-focused, under misunderstood, like miraculous technology. And it's the key to building the character that becomes the software that determines your destiny, that frees you from being a victim of conditions and steps you back into your full power and sovereignty. It's that important. See, you're already committed to things consistently, but what? And we commit to our deepest values, visions, and goals. Now, you might be saying, well, no, that's not true, Derek. I really value wealth and health and happiness and writing that book and building my business, and I can't seem to commit to that. So now here's another one. Please, if you get this, if you really get this, if you have the aha, your life's gonna change. Because it really is, this switch has to be flipped on. You are fully committed to your deepest values. Your goals and visions are made, they're the ones that stick, are made of the things you really value. And you are committed to your deepest values, but they're not what you say they are. They're not what you think they are. The things we really value, you want to know what you really value? You want to know what you really are committed to? Just look at your life. Look at your conditions. If you're broke or struggling, if you're failing or fumbling or not following through at what you say you value and what you say you want, it's because what you're really committed to on a deeper level is being broke and unsuccessful. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but it's a principle. But what it really is that the values you are committed to are not congruent with developing the habits and the character and ultimately the life of a successful or abundant or healthy person. The values you're more likely committed to are things like comfort, things like safety, things like security, things like freedom, right? So for example, you might say you're committed to success, but to really develop success takes a level of discipline, focus, control, structure. And your value of freedom is at war with that. You're more committed to freedom than you are to success. That's why you're not writing that book, or that's why you're not whatever, right? Or you're more committed to comfort. That's why you're not in the shape that you want to be in, because it takes discomfort to exercise. It takes discomfort to go to the gym on a regular basis. It takes discomfort to tear your muscles. It takes discomfort to build new habits. Real discomfort. Why? Because literally and physically, you're tearing parts of yourself down. Parts of you are dying. It is uncomfortable to grow. It is uncomfortable to change. It is uncomfortable to build your body, your mind, your business, your relationship. And if those things aren't where you want them, I can pretty much guarantee you, you have a much stronger value towards comfort. This is why Jesus said, if you try to save your life, you're going to lose it. You're going to stagnate. You're going to break down. You're going to be a slave of limitation and external conditions. If you try to save your current life, you're dead. But if you're willing to lose your life for my sake, meaning this spirit, this higher energy, this kingdom of heaven vision, this possibility, the highest potential within you, if you're willing to die on a daily basis, you're willing to let go and surrender and trust life and be on that emerging or growing edge, you'll have life eternally, life everlasting, glory to greater glory, world without end, never-ending growth, never-ending abundance, never-ending possibility. But most people have as their number one priorities safety, security, survival, comfort, convenience, And then another one that's really actually grown, has emerged in our modern day, is vanity, is looking good. And another way to say that is not looking bad. Another way to say that is fear of being judged. Now, that's always been there to some extent, because to be judged could mean to be condemned, could mean to be ostracized or rejected out of the clan, out of the tribe. So that's been there, but way, way less, and way less superficially as it is now. So comfort, convenience, safety, security, survival, and vanity. When those are your core values, because they are the collective values, then most of your energy then is used to control your life, to prevent danger or challenge, which is where you really grow, to look good or not look bad, to defend and prove your point of view is the right one, even when it's not serving you. It's very important that you begin to understand, what are your real values? We value success, yes, but we also value freedom. And we value freedom a little too much, and they're fighting. So it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, or 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Or we value health, but we also value comfort and convenience. And so it's like back and forth. Or we have away from values where we value things like what we don't want, like to not be fat or to not be sick. And when we're just a little bit not fat or not sick, we lose the momentum and we lose the drive. Or to not be broke. And then when we're not broke, we lose the momentum to keep growing our abundance consciousness and our abundance manifestation. And then we go backwards again. And this is the yo-yo effect. Why you start things and why you follow through on things and why you finish things or why you don't is not merely, and almost not even at a priority, a time management issue. Getting in the latest daily planner is not going to solve it. You get it? This is what's driving you. It's the programming that's determining your level of productivity and prolificness and progress. Programming determines your productivity. Programming determines your progress. Your programming is your character. Your character is made up of your habits. Your habits are made up of what you commit to consistently, and what you commit to consistently is your core values. And your core values, unbeknownst to many people, are largely made up of survival values. And survival ultimately leads to stagnation. It's not a growth mindset. It's an I already know it, or I can't do it, or it's not safe. It's about holding on and keeping things the same. And in order to get things done, to live a productive, prolific, progressive life, you have to move from survival values to thrival values. From conservative values, and I don't mean this in a political way, although there's something to say about that, to progressive value. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to also have conservation and safety and security. That's a foundational piece, but the priority has to be evolution and growth with just enough stability so that you don't tear a muscle. You don't grow so fast, you tear a muscle. You don't grow so fast, you tear down the structures completely. But if you're more beholden to the structure, then you are stagnation. Another way to say it, structure is masculine. Growth and evolution is feminine. If you're more committed to holding on to what is and never letting it go and not changing and going back, that's the wounded masculine. If you're more committed to evolution and life force and pure creative potential, that's the feminine. Now, if you avoid structure completely and all you want to do is be with the flow, or if you repress that pure spontaneous largeness and aliveness and wildness, that's the wounded feminine. You need both. You need the structure, the masculine, and you need the feminine, the life force, the aliveness, the emerging edge, the evolutionary edge, the progressive edge, the value of life more than survival. But you need them both.